Jeez, oh Pete. That ain't the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Okay. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Trucker 219. Today we're diving into PAM Transport to see if it's a good company to go to work for. In this video, we're calling a driver recruiter, taking a look at some online reviews, as well as hearing a driver experience from a fellow content creator right here on YouTube. And at the end of the video, I'll answer the question, okay or no way. Would I, Trucker 219, go to work for PAM Transport? But before we get going, I want to give a shout out to a new member on the channel, President Not Sure. Thank you so much for your added support. I really appreciate it. And if you want to become a member and get access to special badges and emojis and have a shout out just like this one, I'll leave a link for that down below. Channel memberships are definitely not a requirement, but the added support goes a long way. And we're diving into PAM Transport right now. Let's go.
Hi, this is Sam with PAM Transport. How can I help you?
I was calling to see what it would be like to go and get my CDL through you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll get a full application in. Once you get your Class A permit, we can move forward with everything. We'll get you here to the school. The school is in Springdale, Arkansas. It's only 3 weeks long. We pay for your travel here. We pay for your hotel stay while you're in the school. And we pay for the entire CDL school itself, as long as you complete and work a 6-month contract with us out of that terminal.
Okay, and is there any pay while I'm going through CDL training?
So the training is not paid training, but it's paid for. So we also give you a $100 stipend per week while you're in the school. But that's really about it.
6 months really is a really quick contract, actually. But if I happen to leave early,
it's the shortest one in this nation.
What happens if I were to leave early on that?
If you were to leave early, it would be a breach of contract, so you would then be liable for the remainder amount of that loan, like the tuition costs and everything. So when you go through, we take a loan out of your name, but again, you're not paying for any of it. Nothing coming out of your check, nothing that you got to deal with.
Right.
And we make the minimum monthly payment over those 6 months. On that 6-month mark, we pay that loan off completely. So say
so how much is the loan? How much is the loan total?
The loan total comes out about $700 to $7,500 in total, with travel costs, hotel fees, and all that.
Copy.
It comes out to about $7,500. And say like on month 4, really bad day, and you decide to kick rocks. So over those 4 months, we only made the minimum monthly payment, which is like $150. So 4 months, we're looking at what, $600, $500 off of that $7,500. So if you're to quit, you'll be liable for the remainder of $7,000. All right.
Okay, so you guys are paying back about $150 a month up to that 6 months, where you'll make a big balloon payment and get it out of there.
Correct. Yeah. In return, so long as you work that full 6 months, it helps your credit. But if you don't, it doesn't help so much.
Gotcha. Okay, so let me just be clear. We're using our socials and everything to take out this loan?
Yeah, so y'all fill out the form to take out the loan, and again, it's in your name, but y'all are not paying it. We make the payments for you.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So,
that way, if something bad happens and you're not able to complete the contract, it's already in your name, so you would be liable for the rest.
Gotcha. All right. And then after CDL training, is there additional training once I obtain my CDL?
So after the CDL, which is 3 weeks long, we get you back home to the nearest terminal to you, and you will be on the road with a mentor. So you'll be doing some mentor driving for about 11 to 18 days. Okay. As soon as that mentor driving is over, the mentor takes you to your first truck. You'll do your first load and your first route, and you just go straight home, have some home time, and then you'll be in the rotation of getting everything.
Gotcha. And then what's the pay while going through training with the mentor?
It's last time I checked, it was like $75 to $100 per day you're with them, and then you'll start getting on the road, which is 35 cents per mile, averaging 2,300 to 2,500 miles a week. After 3 months, you get bumped up to your domicile pay, so it kind of ranges about 45 to 55 cents per mile, with still 2,300 to 2,500 miles per week.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that. So after I get done with the training through, sorry, I was writing down the previous thing. I apologize. That's my bad.
Oh, you're good. You're fine.
So after I get done with the training with the mentor, of the 11 to 18 days paid out at $75 to $100 per day, I would go solo, get my own truck, being paid at what cents per mile?
First 3 months is 35 cents per mile, and then the next 3 months it's 45 to 55 cents per mile, depending on which terminal you're out of. Okay, so you're literally like 7 miles outside the hiring area for our Atlanta terminal. There's a terminal in Nashville if you want to stay in Tennessee, but probably So the only way we'll be able to get you into the school and get you, the contract and everything is if you're within the 90 miles. And it's a dead set number that they have us deal with. So if you're within the 90 of either Nashville or Atlanta, we can move forward. But if you don't want to relocate or anything like that, which I don't blame you, can't suggest that or nothing, but it's completely up to you. We wouldn't really be able to do much.
Okay, so I would have to be within a 90-mile radius of any of the terminals?
Yes. Yeah, correct. And as soon as you're done with the school, we pay for your travel back home. And as long as that's within that 90 miles of a terminal, everything's solid and everything's good.
Okay, so I guess I'm misunderstanding. This is an over-the-road position,
Okay.
Correct?
It is over the road. Yes, sir. It is over the road. It's just we still have to have you within the area of a terminal.
Okay, so if I move 7 miles south, I would be in the Atlanta?
If you're moving like 7 to 8 miles south, you would be within that 90 miles about, because you're at like about 99 or 98 about from Atlanta, and then you're like 130 away from Nashville.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean, as an over-the-road driver, I plan on basically living in the truck, so...
Okay. And again, the whole relocation part, that's completely up to you. I can't suggest that because, that's your life. I don't want to suggest something that someone may not like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, 7 miles, though, that's a fly fart away. What would the home time be? Let's just finish this out here. The home time for over the road?
So if you were to stick with the Atlanta one, let's see here. So that's first 3 months is 35 cents. Second 3 months, you'd be bumped up to 50. Home time, we're looking, so you're on the road 7 to 10 days. With a 34 to 48 hour reset at home.
And then if I choose not to go with you guys through CDL training and go somewhere else like a CDL school or something, do you guys offer any tuition reimbursement?
No, sir. We don't do tuition reimbursement, but we can still get you with us. Even though you got your license through another school, we can get you on. Again, as long as you're within that 90 of the terminal.
Gotcha. Okay, and then do you guys have cameras in your trucks?
We do, but they're outward facing.
And then do you guys offer anything for veterans?
Like GI Bill or tuition assistance?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, we don't really offer anything for that because, again, like either way, we pay for it all. So.
Okay, and then last question for you. What are your trucks governed at?
Governed at? I really don't know. I just know that they're brand new Peterbilts. That's about it.
All right. Thank you so much. Like I said, I got to think about this a little bit. I'm calling around a bunch of different companies today to figure out where I want to go to work. If I decide to go with you guys, though.
Around, figure out. I'd love to help you if I can, man. It's just that's the only option because they're strict on that.
Gotcha. Yeah, no problem. That's your guys' policy. It is what it is. I will give you guys a call if I decide to go with you guys.
Okay. Yeah, man. Love to get a call back, all right?
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. I'll talk to you soon, sir. Good luck. Have a good one.
You too. Bye. Jeez, oh, Pete. That ain't the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Okay. Not to mention that, but their pay is only 35 freaking cents per mile. I made 34 10 years ago starting out. All right, so I just got off the phone with the driver recruiter for PAM Transportation, and I feel terrible for this recruiter because he's got to try to sell this company as it's something good to go to work for, and some of their policies are absolutely ridiculous, but nevertheless, we're going to go over what they said in the recruiter phone call and try to clean it up for you a little bit. So if you're wanting to go through PAM's CDL training school, it's going to cost you between $700 and $7,500, and now this is a loan that they take out in your name, similarly to what you would do if you go through a CDL training school. But you'll have to have your permit ready to go before you even start with PAM Transport. They do all their training out of their terminal in Springdale, Arkansas, and just their CDL training portion is a 3-week course. Now they will pay for your transportation, hotel, and a $100 stipend while you're going through the CDL training portion. And in order to be absolved of that $7,000 to $7,500 loan, you'll have to serve a 6-month contract with them. Now I will tell you, out of all the companies that I've called and done a recruiter phone call on, this is the lowest contract that I've seen to be able to get your CDL. Now PAM will be paying $150 per month towards this loan until you reach that 6 months. And if you do decide to leave PAM before that 6 month is up, you will have to pay the remaining balance of that loan. Once you get your CDL, you'll have to go out with a driver mentor for 11 to 18 days. The pay during this time is $75 to $100 per day. Now once you get through this approximately 2 weeks with the driver mentor, you'll be going solo. And for your first 3 months months, you will only be making 35 cents per mile. Now, they did say the average miles per week was 2,300 to 2,500 miles per week. And once you get to the 6-month mark as a solo driver, you'll be going up to between 45 and 55 cents per mile, depending on where you're located. He did say the region that I'm close to, which would be Atlanta, I would be making 50 cents per mile after that 6 months. And if the cents per mile staying wasn't enough, they require you to be within 90 miles of any given terminal. And this is such a hard rule that they're not willing to budge on, that I'm only 7 miles away from being within that region, and they would require me to relocate 7 miles south in order to go and work for them. Now, their home time policy is 7 to 10 days out for a 34 to 48 hour reset back at home. If you decide to go through a private CDL training program, they do not offer any tuition reimbursement. The recruiter also said that PAM does not offer any sort of incentives or benefits for veterans. And finally, they do have cameras on their truck, but only outward facing, and the recruiter was not sure about what their trucks are governed at. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at some reviews to see what other drivers have had to say about working for PAM Transport. All right, so we're over here on Indeed Reviews, going to check out and see what other drivers have had to say about PAM. And right out the gate, I'm seeing a 3-star out of 1,030 reviews, which based off of the companies I've done a deep dive on so far, it seems that 3 stars is kind of on the lower end of average, not quite the lowest, but definitely not the highest either. But we got these reviews sorted to the newest, and we're going to go ahead and take a look. And this first one right here is a 3-star from January 20th of 2026, and it just says it's a job. Penny a mile is what they say, and that's what you'll get. The bonus is unachievable, and the miles they say you can get are not there. Granted, it's the beginning of the year. That's why they don't just get a 1-star. Okay, so this reviewer is giving them a little bit of grace just because it's the beginning of the year, but clearly not very happy with PAM so far. Okay, this next one, also from the 20th, is a 4-star, and it says great starter company. Working for PAM is no different than working for any other trucking company in the industry. The only difference is they give an opportunity for new drivers to begin a new career. For the most part, dispatch really goes above and beyond to help the drivers, in my opinion. Honestly, I don't have a whole lot of bad things to say. And this says the pros is that they accept new drivers. Cons is no paid holidays, low pay, still a great company. Okay, this next one is also a 4-star from December 13th of 2025. And the review says just couldn't make over $1,000 there, but it was okay, and they are fair once you get hired. Try them out, they're not that bad. They do all 48, I think. They're better if you come as a team. Don't do leasing at all, you're gonna be broke. Okay, so moderately fair review there. All right, this one is a 3-star from December 6th, a driver out of Alabama. For me, it was a cool company to work for when I first started driving. Made a few mistakes and they were very helpful, never had any problems. Home time was usually always on time. Okay, that's a pretty good review. Got a 2-star here from November 25th of 2025. Only good thing is no inside camera. Micromanage you and pay sucks. Bottom of the barrel, good starter company, I guess. The pros doesn't weigh out the cons on a dedicated account. I guess it's worth it on lease purchase if you can take the micromanaging. Okay, so if you've watched my channel for any period of time, you pretty much know that I'm pretty hard against any sort of leasing. And this is because 9 out of 10 times it just doesn't work in the driver's favor, and I'm all about helping drivers. And if you want a more detailed breakdown of why I disagree with lease purchase, I'll leave a card up above right here. Okay, back to the reviews here. We got a 4-star from November 16th. Great new driver, dedicated driver out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And this one just says, great to get your experience up into a great way to start off your CDL driving career. It was a great experience seeing different things. The pay was a great start for beginners. All right, we got a 1-star here, also from Arkansas. Not a good company. And this review says, I lost a family member and they didn't even allow me to take time off for grievance. Also, I missed my brother's high school graduation because they waited too long to get me a load back home when I let them know a month in advance that I needed to be home days before the actual graduation ceremony. Yeah, that's not good if they're not getting drivers home when they request to be home, especially since they have this really hard policy about being 90 miles away from a terminal. I was kind of hoping if they had that really hard policy that I wouldn't see reviews like this that are saying that they're not getting their drivers home when they're supposed to be home. Okay, so this 3-star review says good starter company. Get in, get your license, get experience, put some time, move up in companies. Good place to start, low pay, don't stay. Most of the employees are happy to help, good attitude. Okay, so it's good to see that at least the office employees are happy to help and they have a good attitude about it. But right here we got a 2-star from November 12th of 2025. It's an alright place to get your CDL if you don't have it. Okay, this 1-star from November 3rd of 2025 says low pay, and this is from an over-the-road truck driver. They don't care about you getting your home time, and trucks always always take long in the shop, and they barely pay you, and you have to be behind them to get reimbursed for money you spent. All right, so this next one is a 2-star from October 29th, and this one just says find a different company to drive for. That's it. Nothing else to say. Just find a company that will pay and get you home and will not keep changing your schedule every 5 minutes or off times every week. Simple. Okay, that one was a little hard to read, but it sounds like they're not getting paid and not getting home when they want to be home. Okay, just skimming through these next few reviews here. We got a 3-star, says great starter company. Another 3-star says high stress workplace. A 1-star here says a typical day at work is full of disappointments and difficulties. So overall, these are definitely not glowing reviews, and some of the best ones say it's a good company to work for, not a great company. I enjoyed my experience. This was one of the best places I've ever worked. Even the good ones were just kind of okay. So let's see what a fellow content creator has had to say about working for PAM Transport. And this video is coming from Gouda Trucker. And as always, if you want to check out that full video, I'll leave a link for that down below.
What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Gouda Trucker, man, and I'm coming here today with my very first trucking vlog. I want to come here and talk to y'all about PAM Transport. Now, I am currently hired on through PAM Transport. Before I got hired on, I did a lot of research about PAM. I watched a lot of YouTube videos about PAM, and they was giving PAM the business, you know what I'm saying? Like, PAM was getting the worst of the worst when it came down to the reviews. And, you know, I'm not the type of person that'll go on any company or go on any journey expecting somebody's experience to be like mine. So I needed a beginning stage. So I heard that PAM was somewhat good of getting your experience and possibly moving forward after that. I heard that PAM is not a place that you would want to continue a trucking career with. So yeah, I came here for the experience and the training and of course for the tuition to go to school to get my CDL. So yeah, I want to be one of those guys that make a video about having a different experience than what everybody else on YouTube is saying their experience was. And sorry to tell y'all, man, my experience was something similar, or it was a little bit worse.
That's really cool to hear that he went into this with a positive outlook and an open mind to see what PAM was all about. And he was actually hoping to have a different review than what all the other reviews that he had seen were. But it sounds like that just didn't quite pan out.
The good thing about coming to PAM was my trainer. My trainer was dope. You know what I'm saying? Probably the best trainer I could ask for. As far as like being out on the road 3 weeks, sharing a sleeper berth with for 3 weeks, which that was something new to me. Like, I don't really do roommates and, you know, things of that nature. So me, you know, living under a mobile home with somebody for 3 weeks was definitely new, but my trainer made it real comfortable for me. And let me say this, he did what he could to soften the blow of what was coming. And when I tell y'all, for one, after I got out of trucking school, which I went to FTA, you know, Future Truckers of America in North Carolina, Asheboro, North Carolina, which is a great school. I went through them after I graduated. I graduated in November. I didn't get picked up until like the 2nd week of January. That's when I got picked up from a trainer. Now, I took it as if, you know, maybe the holidays, I graduated in November, you know, you got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas, you got New Year's. Maybe that's why it took that long. I don't know. I just know it took a long ass time for me to get a trainer after I graduated. So.
Okay, so he ended up going to a private institution to get his CDL, and it took him almost 2 months to get picked up from a trainer. And it sounds like he didn't even go to an orientation. The trainer just kind of swung through and picked him up.
Once I got my trainer, we met up at a drop yard in Conley, Georgia. He met up with me, he gave me the rundown of what to be expected, but he couldn't prepare me for what we was about to endeavor. Man, when I tell y'all from day one, nothing went smooth, nothing. And I hate that I gotta say that, because I did not want to be that guy to just fall into the basket of the others with the bad reviews, but my experience was just as worse as theirs. The communication was awful. My recruiter, man, I for 3 months, I only spoke to this woman twice. That's how bad a communicator this woman was. Starting off, we picked up some loads. Of course, we had to deal with the weather, which it was snowing. So we ran into blizzards in Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia. We had to shut down due to the weather. The experience with that had nothing to do with PAM, but going through what we had to go through when it came down to the communication part of PAM was terrible. Like, the communication was horrible when I was with my trainer. Now, grant you, I have yet to get a load on my own since I've upgraded. And if you don't know what upgrading is, when you're with PAM, when you're with a trainer, it's like a probation period. Like, you're not officially hired on yet until your trainer can give you the green light to go get upgraded. And once you go to get upgraded, it's like you're doing a test all over again, which is a backing, a driving, and a pre-trip. The backing is just 45 and straight back, pre-trip, and a road test. Pretty easy. I had to do mine in Texas. But the experience with PAM, man, I just happen to say the communication. Like, my biggest
So basically what this guy is saying is you're not actually hired on with PAM yet until you get back to terminal to do a road test. And he said this road test consists of driving on the road as well as doing some backing maneuvers. Now generally with a company, you'll go in and do an orientation for about 3 days, do your drug test and things like that. And then most major carriers do perform a road test to see how good your driving skills are. But this generally happens right after orientation before you go with a trainer, not after you've already been with a trainer for 3 weeks. And keep in mind this video was uploaded just 11 months ago. But let's carry on and see if he's got anything good to say.
Negative about PAM with the communication. Of course, the pay ain't good. They start you out with 35 cents a mile, which that's not good. I think like in 60 days you get bumped up to like 45 cents. Then after that you get 55 cents and so forth and so forth. But I only have like a 6 month to a year plan to stay with PAM. You know what I'm saying? That's just my plan due to what I've endeavored in 3 weeks. We had to swap a load one time with somebody, and the experience with doing that was horrible because we wasn't able to complete the load in a timely manner because of the communication and due to the fact that we could never get the planner, the dispatch, and the shipper on the same page. It made our trip so hard to the point that we just wanted to T-call the load, and T-calling the load is like just dropping the load somewhere for somebody else to come pick it up and take care of it. Like, it was that bad. And remind you, now, we're dealing with snow. The equipment was nice. You know, we didn't have any equipment problem, which the truck is about to start up on its own due to the cabin temperature. It has a temperature that it has to maintain that I set for myself. So yeah, if you hear that, just know the truck started on its own. Kind of ignore it. Hopefully the mic helped it. Pretty sure a lot of trucks do that. But anyway, I didn't have too much to say because, you know, I'm not a negative person. I'm not really the type to get on here and speak anything negative, but I just want to say what I took from it was the communication was pretty bad. We never was sitting too long. I can't say that. Like, we was getting loads back to back to back. So that's depending on you and your dispatch relationship. If you got a good relationship with your dispatch, you will get a lot of loads. If you're a worker, if you're not just sitting around bullshitting and picking and choosing what type of loads you want to do, you're trying to be too specific, you will get a lot of loads. And me, I'm the type that I want big loads. I want high mileage loads. I don't want like 200-300 mile loads. I want loads that'll take like a day or two to complete. That way my weeks are going by fast and I'm staying on the road a lot longer besides picking up, dropping off, and having to wait. I don't want my loads to be like that. So the good side about being with PAM to me is first the opportunity to get the experience, the opportunity to get my CDLs, the opportunity to start a new career. Even though I went through a bad experience with my trainer when it came down to communication, like that, to me, that was the worst that I experienced with PAM is just the communication. But other than that, I just got my first truck. It's not the best truck. The truck is actually 4 years old, which I find kind of crazy because they don't even supposed to be giving out trucks no older than 2.5 years. So they say they're going to move me into a truck within a month or two. That's what they say. So I can't really go out there right now. So as far as right now, the truck is okay. I do have to put it in the shop in the morning. A couple knickknacks here and there that I didn't want to tolerate or have to deal with when I'm on the road. So I just go ahead and take care of it before I get my first load. I'm looking to get a load probably Friday morning, hopefully, because the weekend dispatchers are terrible here at PAM. They are slow and they don't care. Like, they just do not care. I learned that through training. So I haven't taken my first load yet. I'm excited to take my first load. So while I wait, I just decided to start my vlogging off with my experience the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, communication is one of the most important things in trucking. You could be thousands of miles away from your home, and the only contact you have in order to move that truck is with dispatch. So you're dependent on them to get loads to keep moving down the road. And if something's gone wrong on the road, whether it be a maintenance issue or an issue with the shipper or receiver, and you can't get a hold of anybody, this just makes the job all that more stressful. So if you're working for a company that doesn't have good communication, this is going to be a challenging job to accomplish. It's good to see that Gouda Trucker decided to get some things fixed on his truck before he went on his first run. Drivers, if there's any issues with your trucks, make sure to have those things fixed as soon as possible to avoid having to deal with future issues down the line. And I think this can be said about all major carriers, is that the weekend and the night dispatch are just terrible, and that's just the way that it is. But now it's time for the question, okay or no way, would I, Trucker 219, go to work for PAM Transport? And I'm not going to sugarcoat it here. The answer is a big fat no way. This is hands down one of the worst companies that I've done a deep dive on so far. Based off of what the reviews had to say, one of the only things PAM Transport has going for it is the opportunity to get started in a new career. So if you've exhausted all your other options and no company is accepting your application, PAM might be a good option for you, starting with their CDL program. According to the recruiter, you have to finance your CDL training through PAM with your own social security and information. And until you complete the contract, the cost of that is $7,000 to $7,500. Now granted, the contract for that is really short at just 6 months, but the fact that they're making you put your own name on the line for something that they claim to cover, in my book, it's just a giant red flag. And if you decide to get your CDL somewhere else through a private institution or trucking school, they do not offer a tuition reimbursement. And being that this is the 20th company that I've done a deep dive on, a tuition reimbursement is pretty much standard as a starter company. On top of that, this is hands down the lowest starting cents per mile that I've ever seen. They start new drivers at just 35 cents per mile. Now for me, I started trucking almost 10 years ago, and when I first started with my training company, I was making 34 cents per mile. So PAM Transport's starting pay is what it was for new drivers 10 years ago. And I'm sorry to say, but you can't tell me that the cost of living hasn't gone up in the last 10 years. Also, they don't offer any sort of incentives for veterans to use their GI Bill towards their training cost. And finally, one of the strangest and most bizarre things that I've heard from an over-the-road company is this requirement to be within 90 miles of any given terminal. This is an over-the-road company operating in all 48 states, and this hard rule to be within 90 miles of a terminal is absolutely crazy. Once you get out of training, you should be able to take your truck home, so it shouldn't matter where the terminals are. The only reason this should matter is for orientation and picking up your first truck, or when you decide to leave the company and return the truck back to PAM Transport. And this 90-mile rule is so strict that they wanted me to move 7 miles just to be within that range. And I'm sorry, that's absolutely crazy. They're going to be so strict on this rule that they won't allow for 7-mile difference. So with all that bad stuff out of the way, let's highlight the 1 or 2 things that PAM actually has going for it. The first thing is that they only have outward facing cameras, and I know that's a big deal for a lot of people. If you do go through their CDL training program, the contract to get that paid off is only 6 months. And that's the lowest contract that I've seen thus far, with the next one up being Schneider at 9 months. And finally, it seems like the office personnel as well as the trainers do a good job of being respectful. And the trainers do the best they can to prepare you for what's to come working with PAM. But even with those couple of good things, in my opinion, it's just not worth it, and it's a big fat no way. But I want to hear from you guys. Have you gone to work for PAM Transport? What was your experience like? Leave that down in the comments below. And if you want to check out more deep dives just like this one, click the playlist right here. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All right, bye.